am an oil painter. I'd like to say it's somewhere between, my influence are definitely Cubist and post-impressionist. So.
Okay. And what does that mean? Like, could you explain for viewers?
Cubism is basically like kind of Picasso. Picasso's like the godfather. He created Cubism, and that's basically sort of the use of line where you get different perspectives of an image in one image, right? Like, especially with my figures, you might be able to see the bottom of their feet or, you know, different angles of them.
Yeah.
And then my saturation of color is much more post-impressionist.
Post-impressionist. Now, post-impressionism is a time period in art.
Yeah, it's more like the concept of the like there's impressionism and then post-impressionism, and you know it's I don't want to say it wrong, you know, but basically it's like your impression of the work. You know, it's like your impression of what you saw. Like if I were going to paint like the Sistine Chapel, I would paint like what the impression of the Sistine Chapel kind of, you know, so it would still be it, but it has more of an atmosphere to it rather than a complete skill.
Is it sort of also part of your own impression, your own soul?
Yeah, I like to think so. Like, it's like kind of like how you take it and how you internalize it and then come out with it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's cool. So cool. And then when it comes to art as well, when did you start painting? I actually started painting when I was 15, 16. Wow.
And it was actually one of those things where, do you mind if I tell an anecdote?
Go ahead.
My art teacher, actually, I was making clay teddy bears all the time in class. I would just play with clay. And my art teacher, Roger Hill and Candy McManaman, they were incredible teachers. And I remember Roger and I kind of got into an argument once, and he was like, you know, you're just being such a smart ass and you're not really doing anything. And I was like, oh, I can paint. And he's like, well, if you think you can paint, let's see you paint something. And I was like, fine. So I remember I painted something, and the only thing he said to me was, no shit. And it was the first time I'd ever heard a teacher swear, too. So I was like, what does that mean? And he's like, can you do it again? And I was like, yeah. And that was it. Next thing I knew, I was just painting and painting and painting. And he would help me find my own style. Like, I'd do a painting, and he'd be like, okay, change directions. You're finished with this piece. You've got a new piece coming. So I'd be able to learn when I was ready for a new piece, because you never know when you're finished. Like, with artwork, you're like, is it done? And it's basically done when you feel it's done. And then you just move on to the next one. Like, sometimes I'll be painting, and I'll be like, oh, no, this is a completely different piece. Canvas down, new canvas, and
wow. So really, from an early on age, you had this muse in you, or what inspires you to paint?
Well, I think oil painting is like a vocation. I don't think you actually choose it, because nobody, I don't think, is like, I would love to be a painter. Because it's really not glamorous. Like, you know, no one's sending you jewelry or dresses, but it definitely chooses you, because I can't fathom doing anything else.
Yeah.
Like, if I was good at math, maybe I'd do something else, but
So is it safe to say that it's part of your soul, really?
Absolutely. But I do think it chooses you. It is definitely like a vocation.
It is a vocation. And it's part of it. Is it safe to say also that if you couldn't paint on a daily basis, you would just die? Or?
Well, see, I find I try to paint every day. I try to get a few hours in like I would a normal office, like 9 to 5 or... Mm-hmm. 12 to 10, like whatever hours I want to work for the painting.
Yeah.
But there'll be, I'd say months where I don't paint, where there's nothing in me. And in that time, I'm just accumulating different things that I like, different things that stick within me. And I kind of build and build and build until one day I'm just ready to create something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess it's kind of like getting your inspiration about things. Like, what do you do to get inspired when you get in that rut? Because I know when you get the writer's block, they call it, but artists also go through it all as well when they feel stuck and they say, I don't know, I don't want to paint a brush today.
When I'm stuck, and I hate doing them, and I think everybody hates doing them, is pure contours. Mm-hmm. And pure contours are when, say I was going to draw my left hand, I would study my hand and I would just draw the object without looking at the picture, and my my pencil won't leave the page. It's just an exercise.
That's right.
But it's a really annoying, irritating exercise. But you do get inspired after doing that, because you're like, I don't want to do pure contours anymore. I got something. And
then you go at it.
but yeah, like if I'm really struggling with inspiration, it's definitely a pure contour time.
So this studio that you have here, the Roseville Studio, that's located at
1630 Dundas Street West. We're just in the alcove. We're at Dundas and Brock, and I'm in the alcove just west of the Scotiabank.
Oh, nice. There we go. So at Dundas and
Brock, Dundas and Brock on the north side. But yeah, people know Dufferin more, huh?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
So it's west of Dufferin.
West of Dufferin. There we go.
On the north side.
So is your favorite painting at all? Or is none? You just
Like in the whole wide world, or of mine?
Of your own, or even somebody else's artwork. What's your favorite? Yeah, watch the mic.
Oh, sorry. I'm like, I started to go into dream world of like, what's my favorite? I really like Botticelli. I find, I saw it at the Uffizi Gallery once. I guess it's my only vigilante thing, is I wanted to touch a Botticelli. I was like, I just want to touch it, just ever so. I won't hurt anything with my finger oils. I'll just do the corner. But it's actually now behind plexiglass, behind an awning, like the carpet thing. So you can't actually touch it. But I thought about it.
No, I found some of your work actually to be, there's a little bit of Cézanne in there.
Oh, thanks. Oh, I love him.
I just found, like, because you have such a good sense of balance and color between, as a painter, that even with the bold colors, and Cézanne had that too, and I felt like your work is,
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I definitely should have been born 150 years ago. I would have been doing much.
Yeah. And you've probably been starving, and you probably would have had the Black Plague.
And I was a woman. I wasn't even able to vote. It would have been horrible.
Or even not allowed to paint, really.
Probably wasn't allowed to own it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Van Gogh had a sister, but they never say whether or not she painted.
That's true. I wonder if the women were really not allowed to paint, or even to write music at that point. Not even allowed to act. Actually.
No, it was like, back then, I think painting was still done on apprenticeship, and women didn't get apprenticeships.
So I'm going to ask you a question. This is the kind of question, as a woman. Okay. What do you think the difference between a woman painter and a man painter?
Oh, nothing. I think it's just nothing.
Nothing?
No, it's just we're allowed to paint now. It's the same thing as a woman politician and a male politician. There's no real difference, except we're allowed to participate now.
So you think that the female spirit doesn't give you something like a different...
Oh, the female body and the female... Oh, whether my spirit... Because I love the female body over the male body just in terms of movement, right?
Yeah.
They have such a creativity, and women are constantly... their bodies change, whether or not they're bringing new people into the world. So there's always a different angle with women.
Yeah.
But I don't think... Because I've seen men, a lot of male artists, produce beautiful women figures. So I don't think that I bring anything to it in terms of gender.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Because there's some people that think that, the female spirit brings a sort of a different light to a painting, but I don't think so either. I think I'm more like you, that there is no difference.
Yeah, I almost think that female painters were almost like men. I think we're the men.
No, when it comes to ethics and arts, like I always ask this question about ethics and arts, and obviously you've painted nudes and you've painted other things. Where do you think you draw the line when it comes to art? Like I know this Japanese painter. The reason I'm bringing this on because it's a Japanese painter who he was coming home after painting, and he saw his house on fire and his woman and children were burning in the fire, and he decided to paint the fire instead of trying to rescue his family.
Is this a true story?
It's a true story, yes.
Yeah, he's just a jerk.
Yeah,
I was like, that's just a jerk. That's a sociopath, actually.
But he felt that he was so passionate about his artwork that he had to paint the scene, and one of his paintings is somewhere and there's a conflict of ethics on that. So I wanted. Yeah,
it's a strong conflict of ethics on that. I think that's almost that's just nasty.
Have you ever had that problem? Like, not a problem with that, but I mean, something where you drew the line as far as an artist, where you can't draw something because the ethics have been drawn
No, that is interesting, because I have seen work where the subject matter is ethically compromising, where you kind of watch it. But I figured that could also be that artist's style and what they're trying to convey. And there is that element of only when you're uncomfortable can you grow. So there.
Oh, I never heard that. That's actually very interesting.
I had a teacher once that told me, if you don't want to do something or you just don't want to do it, you don't feel comfortable with it, then that's the first thing you should do when you wake up. So that you've grown from it, you've learned from it, and you move on to the next one.
Oh wow, I never thought of that as art.
Yeah, she's a great teacher.
Yeah, great teacher. What's her name?
I think it was Gwyneth McQueen Fuentes. She taught me movement theater at Brock. And she was actually, I think she studied under Jacques Lecoq, who was a direct pupil of Marcel Marceau. So that's why I think that's why you see a lot of movement in my pieces, because I initially wanted to be a movement actor.
Oh.
Yeah, I have my mime certificate. Yeah, my friend's going to kick out of that one.
That was my other question I asked you about mentors. That was one mentor, obviously. There's any other mentors that you
probably Candy McManaman and Roger Hill are my two most, because they were the ones who taught me art, which kind of set me up for my life. So I still kind of will talk to them when I'm struggling with pieces or need help. And then I love Jeannie Becker, but who doesn't? And Margaret Atwood. I could list women all day. I find Margaret Atwood, one of my goals would be to be on a Margaret Atwood cover. I was thinking about putting it on a sign, just like, Margaret Atwood, please come. Please come to me.
And also have your painting on the Marilyn Dennis show.
Oh, I would love that. I love her too. See, Marilyn Dennis, another strong woman, balancing motherhood, family, career. Just love these people.
So what influence you want with your art on society as a whole?
I want to change the way society views art and the artists. I feel somehow we've lost our placement in society and it's no longer considered a normal profession. I feel now people kind of see art as people who don't want to work, or as like it isn't as renowned as it used to be. It used to be a really beautiful sacrifice to want to paint and continue forward with that, and now it's not. Now it's changed, and so I want to change how society views art and the artists.
So what do you think that's changed though? What caused the change? What do you think?
Television, maybe, like actors. Like one of my girlfriends is an actor, and I always say it's really interesting how in the 1600s they closed the globe because they believed that it was actors that were spreading the plague, because they were no better than prostitutes, because they were exhibiting feelings that they didn't really feel, which put them on the same level as prostitutes. And now actors are gods. Now they're bigger than anything else. You could probably name 10 actors, and you could 10 political figures or 10 leading religious figures. It's so much easier. It's just become a very beautiful, noble, artistic profession. And then art, we used to be able to paint all day, every day, and live our life because a patron would come in and be like, you need like $3,000 a month to live off of? Sure, paint my family, here's some money. And then the bills would be taken care of for the month and you could paint. And then the next month someone would come in and give you the money to continue to paint. So that's a little side project of mine, is the patron project, where I want to bring that back, where you can pick your favorite artist and then give them money for a tax donation to help them continue with their life. Like the Medicis used to do in Italy. Like that's how art became renowned. Like Michelangelo was never paid for anything. He never paid for stuff. He just always had accommodation, access to anything he needed because he was painting. Right. So your basic minimums needs were always met. And Van Gogh kind of changed that. Like he showed that you didn't have to be supported and you could still continue to paint. And then people just like the romantic notion of being poor, which is horribly ignorant, but they love the idea that artists don't have money for some reason. And it's true. Because all of so many people, they're like, are you successful? And I'm like, I think so. I get to wake up and do what I want to do every morning, so that's success. And they're like, do you own a car? And I'm like, oh, no, not that kind. But like, no, I don't have a car or a house, but I do what I want to do, and I think that is successful.
Yeah, so it's like naming your successes without mentioning money.
Yeah.
And, the word success is not synonymous to money. So.
But success now, it has a monetary value to it. When people say, are you successful, they're actually wanting to know how much money you have and how many acquisitions you have, whether you're satisfied in your work as being a success.
Yeah. So so as a professional artist, what legend do you want to leave behind? Like what legend? Like seriously?
Well, every time I create something, I know that painting will outlive me. I know that I want to produce something and leave something that can stand on its own when I'm no longer here to look after it. I think as an oil painter, as an artist, one of the best things I could think of for a legacy would be to have, Picasso's the grandfather of Cubism. I would love to be the grandfather of Tennillism, because I think Tennillism is. I do. I was like, you said to dream big. I'm like, I like the idea of Tennillism because I think my style is the incorporation of several different styles. Like I feel there is the incorporation of post-impressionism, surrealism, realism as well, and Cubism.
And it's a new style called Tennillism.
Yeah, I think Tennillism would be the incorporation of more than 2 or 3 pre-existing styles of art that you've then modernized.
And I guess it's not just the style of art, but also philosophy. Would you think that too, perhaps? That Tennillism would be also philosophy that you leave behind as well? I mean, because you talked about, art, and you talked about artists and how you'd like to get back to...
Well, it's kind of related, but I've got a bit of a tangent, because I truly believe we are influenced by the things that are around us. I think if you put really mean, hateful posters on your wall, that will reach your soul, and you will become hostile. And I will only ever paint when I'm in a good place. I will only ever paint something that I think is beautiful, peaceful, serene, and allows the individual to get lost in the piece and make up their own art so that it becomes private and intimate to them.
Yeah. Well, that's a great legacy, actually. Everything that you said so far. This has been a great interview. And one last question just to finalize, because it just came to me. Do you think that becoming a painter or a painter is actually a gift from the Creator?
Oh, it depends on which day I feel how to answer that. Because some days it feels like a curse some days, I'm like, why can't I do anything else? Like, why can't I be good at math or why, but I would never do anything different. I would still continue to do this. So I know it's for me. And I do believe that someone said to me once that it's not really a gift for you. It's a gift for you to give others, because it's not like I keep my work. It's something that I do and then hope that work finds a home.
Yeah.
So it's.
And in another sense, when we talk about gifts and talents, you also have to work at your skill. Is that true?
Oh, I believe so. I think whatever you do, you have to work, and that's why I try to put in 8 hours a day. I don't want to slack, unless I'm in an off-peak time. But even then, I'm constantly studying and wanting to get better. I think your next piece is always your best piece.
Oh wow! Good.
Always.
Good statement. Good statement. And then one last question: what kind of wisdom do you want to leave behind for other artists? What kind of wisdom would you like to give them now, even? I
don't know if it's wisdom, but I would just say don't listen to anyone. Don't listen to what anybody tells you ever. That art is basically anything. You can do what you want to do. Okay. And that's what I like about it. When I was a kid and I'd be painting, and I'd ask my teacher, when I was 16, I'd be like, is this done? How do I know when I'm finished? And he's like, oh, you can do whatever you want. If you want it to be done, it's done. How do you feel? And I was like, yeah, I guess it's done. I'll go on to the next one. Yeah, all right.
Oh my God, this has been a great interview, Tennille. I really appreciate you for being on What Will Be Your Legacy.
Oh, thank you.
It's been. Any last words you'd like to mention? Say anything? Or how about this? How about you give?
I've got one.
Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say, because I find money comes up a lot when you're a painter. People always want to know, how do you do it? Where's the money coming from? And I had this quip once, and it's always stuck with me. I think to live without passion is to die in poverty. And that's kind of how I feel. So I will always be wealthy.
Oh my God!
That's just how I feel.
That is